This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
The kind of old-fashioned cop who preferred working the streets and making arrests to taking tests toward promotion. It was the closest thing New York had to a Dirty Harry.
This is One Tough Podcast. Here's your host, Bo Dietl.
Welcome to One Tough Podcast. I'm joined here, like always, with Carlo. What happened to your finger, Carlo?
I cut myself cooking, but I'm okay.
Cooking?
Yeah. Well, it's slicing up some stuff.
Well, you have to listen to my friend Guy Fieri and let you teach how to cut, okay? And today
that
we're...
sounds like a cover story, if you don't mind me saying so.
And today we're joined here by my friend. I met him a while ago, Paul Blanchard. He's a very interesting character, and we know one thing, Carlo. PR, what does it mean to you, PR?
Puerto Rico.
Wrong. Public relations. You got the greatest thing in the world, or you could make the biggest mistake in the world, or you could be a real fuck up. But if you have a good PR person, they can make you look good. And that's what Paul Blanchard does. He's written books. He has a great podcast also that I'm going to probably do in a little bit. And Paul Blanchard, he has a little English accent, but he understands very well America and all the dickheads in America, all the dickheads with their corporations. And he's out there to help them. Paul Blanchard, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bob.
So
I really
excited.
appreciate it.
So excited.
Yeah, well, thanks for that introduction.
Yeah.
I had a bit of imposter syndrome listening to that. I think you think I'm better than I am, but maybe that's a British thing.
No. I mean, look, all I found out is one thing. I started calling some of my friends that run major corporations. I'm starting to get a little hinkitation of a lot of that accentization, like you got. You got that English accent.
I have.
And now they're actually putting them on their phones, on their answer phone. Say, hi, you've reached Bo Dietl. Say it in English.
Hi, you've reached Bo Dietl.
And it sounds a lot better, huh?
Leave a message.
Class. That's the word. English accent equals class. New York accent, Bo accent, like slimitacious.
Yeah, you can't say,
Right?
hey, yo, you reached Bo Dietl. How you doing?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound so good.
And it's nice. When he speaks with class. I speak with underclass. But, Paul, let's talk about you. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get involved in PR? And some of your clients, if you can mention them.
Of course.
Yeah, and I'm very interested in this because this is what life is about. Like I just said, PR.
That's right.
Like the Friars Club. It's getting bad PR. No one's controlling it.
And PR has bad PR as well, because a lot of people in our industry are sort of churning out shitty press releases. I don't think it moves the needle at all. I mean, what we do is sort of the next evolution of that is reputation management.
Whoa. Evolution? You mean evolution?
Yes, sorry, yes. I apologise for
that. Was Carlo. Evolution is evolution.
Yep, I got that.
Keep
that's
going.
the one. There we are.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to break your chops, but go ahead. So, in other words, let's talk about why the importance of PR. And like I said, in public relations, if you could control your clients, it's good. But some clients are out of control.
They are.
I mean, even with my friend, my president, that I love very much, but you can't talk to the guy. Like I would say, hey, excuse me, Mr. President, calm down with your Twitter twatters, all right? And you can't control some people, some clients. But let's talk about how you got into this, okay?
Yeah, of course.
And your education.
On Trump, I still think that, I've got many criticisms of the president, but he clearly is a PR genius, because most of his audience love who he is, and the more trouble he causes for Nancy Pelosi and all these people, the more they love him, and the more problems that he faces, like with impeachment and Mueller and all of this, they say, well, there he is battling for us. So it's very clever that in terms of the audience that he wants to reach, he's incredibly good at connecting with his base, and we have to, as an opponent, we have to know our enemy, and they don't. The Democrats have not got their act together.
Well, the only problem is his base, we all agree, is a 40% strong base that would walk through walls. But you got to have a little bit more than win the election. But on the other side of the coin, you have a hatred for him that is so overwhelming, where people can't even have a civilized conversation about Donald Trump. It's like cursing. They want to fist fight. All my liberal friends also become tough guys. Oh, F you, Bo. You like fucking Trump. Ugh. I said, well, look, I can have my opinion. And if I like the guy for my reasons, I like a strong person. I like the idea he doesn't take any bullshit from anybody, and he says it like it is. And no one's used to it because their introverted personalities hate to see a guy that's out there getting stuff done. Look what he passed yesterday. That trade thing was the biggest trade thing. Right in the middle, being beat up, another guy would be sucking on his stump, hiding in the corner. Donald Trump steps up, and he's having rallies in New Jersey. He's just there, and the people going crazy. But what scares me is the undercurrent of hatred for him is very present, and people that talk about him now hate him with so much vigor.
Never hate your enemies; it clouds your judgment.
Yeah, but the only problem is he didn't win by a lot. Even though you look at the electoral votes, they were very close in a lot of these states.
60,000 votes, and Hillary, the popular vote, she was 3 million more than him. So he's got a mountain to climb.
I'm talking about even these swing states were so close, less than 10,000 votes. And to me, you're going to have an undercurrent of people coming out to vote. The last time there was nothing to draw them. The thing would draw them out is the hatred for Trump. But there was one little gleaming factor. The last thing I saw was the African-American black vote is like over 30% in favor of them because they have better life for the family economy. So
the economy is doing better. Do you know, it is. I mean, that you're right there. I mean, the problem is with Trump, and I think the Democrats can't get their act together on this, is there's lots to criticise him on, but they don't seem to, they focus on the fact that the economy is doing incredibly well. There are lots of people that support Trump that have got new jobs, and I think one of the reasons Trump rewrites the rules in so many ways that his opponents just haven't got their act together. We've never, ever faced an enemy like this that's better than us.
Wait, enemy? Why is he an enemy?
Well, I don't want him to get re-elected. I respect the office of president, of course I do, and I respect that he's achieved a lot. But on the other hand, for my own personal reasons, of course it is. And you know what? It's not for me to criticise your reasons for supporting him. I respect you as an individual. You're not an idiot.
Yeah.
So if you,
I respect you for not liking him.
So I want to find out. Yeah, but this, you're right about this. Everyone's dug in on both sides. It's like Bo's an idiot if he supports Trump, and I think no, Bo's not an idiot. He's achieved a lot, and if he supports Trump, I want to learn why. What's his thinking? What's he saying that I'm not?
The only reason why I support him is he's getting stuff done. I sat for 8 years with Obama, and we got nothing done except they stuffed the healthcare bill down. And me, as a guy who's running a business, all of a sudden, for a family of over 3, I was paying $15,000. Now it's over $32,000, and the insurance companies jumped on board, and no one stopped them from raising all their rates. So there's a lot of intricacies there. And the positiveness about Trump is he says it like it is. He says it to NATO. He says it. Look, you got to pay your fair share. I'm not paying for your crap. One of the things came up with South, what's that called over there in Korea? South Korea is a fine economy. They're doing great. And then all of a sudden they wanted these missiles to protect them from North Korea. It was about $5 billion. Trump told his generals and all them, you have a meeting with them, tell them they want us to protect them, you pay for them. I mean, these are things that nobody else does. So that's the things look at. He's an antagonistic son of a bitch, lying narcissist. With that said, I'm voting for him again, and I like him.
And that's the problem, isn't it, right? Because his opponents take him literally but not seriously, and his supporters take him seriously but not literally. So when he says something that you know is a bit of BS, you think, look, the guy's doing all right overall, and we'll give him that. Democrats and his opponents seize on that and say he lied about X, Y, and Z, and they can't even seem to agree on the way to challenge it because he's just shattered all the rules. And to that, I respect that.
Yeah, he took on 17 real hard-nosed politicians and wiped them out in the Republican
We've always underestimated him.
And I think it's something right now where people are just saying to themselves, we know about the base. We see it when he has his conferences and all his rah-rah Trump and all the people there. But what I'm
saw him
saying
last
is,
week in Davos.
I don't know beyond that base what is there. Is there a silent majority of people saying my life is better, whether you're black, Asian, Mexican? Like one of my things, if I was you, a PR person, and I was the president's PR person, I would say, take the little fire, throw some logs on the fireplace there in the White House, and start talking about all the positive things you've done since you've been president for the country, and then go into a human type of value and say, and there are some things that I have to apologize. One, I'd like to apologize to Mexican Americans who are hardworking, good family people. And really, I have to apologize to Senator McCain, who was a true American hero. And I was wrong.
Yeah.
All he has to do is say that, you'll have 10% more people will come jumping on.
But he won't, because the very fact that he won't apologise about that, it is a manifestation of the determination of his character that got him there in the first place. It's like, you know yourself, it's like founder syndrome. I'm the best thing and the worst thing about my business at the same time.
Yeah.
Like my business is 50 times better than it could be because of my commitment, my passion and my skills. But there's also 4 or 5 things that I do to fuck it up, which I dare even tell myself about. And I'm a human being. I'm both the best and the worst thing. Wow. Trump's the same. That determination, that obstinacy, that fact that he's so driven like that is both a blessing and a curse for him.
Yeah, it could be his demise.
Maybe.
It could be his demise.
I think he'll get re-elected.
Or
I said that to someone who don't want him to get re-elected.
But what's your feelings about you? But right now, I don't know if you guys were watching. Like last night when they had Dershowitz there, the constitutional lawyer. Wow, it came right out. So if he did that, it still doesn't constitute the high crime of making an impeachment. So in other words, your best. Well, we agree. He did it. He did that. There's not enough there to impeach him. I mean, they brought it right out and say, look, you didn't bring the evidence. If you really felt, if you had bribery there, in reality, when you look at Biden there, when you listen to him, he actually bragged about it. He says, I told that president in Ukraine, if he doesn't fire that prosecutor that's going after my son, we're not giving him the money. Duh. I mean, you need more of a spoken gun. But what I'm bringing out is that what was brought out last night with Dershowitz was, even if he did these things, and the fact that he was saying that he wanted to, before he gave $400-something million, he wanted to make sure that the money was being properly handled. Look, we just had a devastation in Puerto Rico. Now they're finding warehouses
full of stuff,
full of food, water from the last hurricane. And now, if I was the president, I'd say, well, let's slow up with the aid. Let's find out where the hell that's his job. Yeah. That's his job, to knock and stop corruption. So in reality, by him saying, and he did release the funding to Ukraine. So in back of his mind, maybe, how can you think in his mind what his motive was? His motive could have been possibly take out Biden completely, yes, but also the fact that why do we want American dollars? Pakistan, he stopped giving the money to Pakistan because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So he's using all these. He's quite smart. He's not a dumb person.
No, and things like,
What do you hate him so much for?
I don't hate him. I oppose him.
Why do you oppose him?
Because he's not a nice person. He's separating kids from their parents at the Mexican border. Not disclosing his tax returns and things like that. There's no openness, no transparency. I agree. He's done some good things. I oppose him, but that doesn't mean I hate him. I don't want him to carry on being president because he doesn't bring any dignity to the office. But this is an interesting point I wanted to make.
Because you're such a proper guy, and let me tell you something. And now that we're on England, you know who I'm pissed off?
Go on then.
I'm pissed off of this prince being such a pussy sucker.
Which one?
Your prince that's over here in Canada.
Oh, I see, because we've got 2 princes.
He was supposed to be a man. He's got balls like BB. That broad had him all set up. She had this whole thing set up. And I'm glad my queen, that I love, God save the Queen, and I love the monarchy of England.
So do
and
I.
The Queen says, you're not a princess anymore. God bless the Queen of England. She saw right through this. This was all a preplex plan.
Yeah.
Marry the prince, become the princess, and then when you're tired of it, you don't want to play anymore, go back to the United States and become an actress again. This was all premeditated, Carlo, and I'm pissed off.
Okay,
What's your feeling, Carlo? Wake up, come on.
I think, why not? why deal with all the pomp and circumstance? And it's like a golden cage, gilded cage.
Yeah, but you
They're
know
their own
what
thing.
you're going in. When we had that beautiful wedding that I watched with the pomp and circumstance, I love the monarchy. I love tipping away, and I've been to England many times, and I have friends in MI6, and I'm going to tell you something. I love England. England is our brother. And for this lady to go over there, this woman, and try to take that beauty and monarchy and pressure and respect and just trash it in the garbage. I don't want to play anymore. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Bullshit. And that's what I got to say about that.
I respect your opinion.
Right.
To be honest, I don't have a clue what's going on behind the scenes. I mean,
I think he's pussy whipped.
maybe. I mean, he could be, but
It seems like he's pussy whipped, hip-hipping away. I mean, he was a military guy, and I had a lot of respect for him. And I would have told her, I said, come here, young lady, here's the deal. This is my family. I'm a prince, and my father could be the king. And this is my life. If you want to be part of my life, you're marrying me, you have to understand it. If you want to go back to America and play actress lady, take your stuff and get your ass and take off from here. But this is my life, and my brother. I heard his brother was a little pissed off at him too.
I think from what I know behind the scenes, and I don't have very strong connections at all. I know a few people that have worked for them in the past. Yeah. I think it's very much about the relationship breakdown between William and Harry, and this has started years ago. That it started off as
you don't think it was the wedding that started them splitting?
I think it was before then. I think they just started to sort of drift apart, and the rot has set in basically.
Oh, I thought it was the wedding that precipitated this.
No, I think things were already quite bad even before then. And I don't know what.
Well, I hate to see brothers fight.
So, me too. I mean,
I don't like that.
Look, at the end of the day, their mum died. She was chased to her death by the paparazzi.
Yes, we all know that.
The media are unbelievably intrusive to the royal family. I mean, at the end of the day, they do a good job. Do you know what I mean? They're a nice family. They represent the country well. They clearly serve their country. I personally would rather have an elected head of state, but the Queen does a bloody good job, and I'm not going to criticise her. I respect the job that she's doing.
I like your new guy that looks like Trump's brother there. What's his name?
Who's that?
Your new prime minister.
Oh, Boris. Yeah.
Boris looks like Trump's cousin. With that hair, right?
We're not doing so well with our leaders at the moment, are we? But yeah, I mean, the beauty of the Queen is she's above politics. You can, if you look at Brexit, how it's divided the country, you've got people, it even splits families up. There's people who are pro Remain, pro Brexit. The Queen is above that. Whatever side you're on, you can think, well, the Queen is good for Britain. The minute she says anything, even a hint of what her view is, half the people are going to say, you bitch. Do you know what I mean? And that's why
she stays out of the politics.
And that's to her credit. And so she should.
It's England above politics.
And
I love that. I love that.
Well, Britain, actually. I mean, because when Scotland had its referendum for independence, she said that the Scottish people should think very carefully about their vote. And that was what David Cameron, as the then Prime Minister, had persuaded her to say. And people thought that she was hinting that meant vote to keep the United Kingdom together, which is what the Scottish people did in the end.
Well, on that note, I've been watching Netflix, and they have that one series.
The Crown?
The Crown?
No.
No?
No.
He drew us into that, didn't he?
No.
He's good.
And it's about Scotland. Come on, guys. It's a great series. It's about Scotland, about when they had all the clans and all that. And I
haven't seen that one yet.
It's oh my goodness! It's one of the great series. I got addicted to it. I watched it all weekend. 2 weekends ago, I was addicted to it. It's on Netflix, and the Outlander.
Okay,
yeah. Outlander, and then one lady comes back from the future, from the 1940s, and goes, let me tell you, graphic. The guy's getting hit in the ass and shit. I mean, it was a little graphic for me. And the thing is, but it was very interesting. But it got so graphic, even Bo Dietl said, I don't want to watch it anymore. I mean, you could go beyond, you can leave stuff to the imagination. But when you start to get really graphic, and I've seen enough graphic shit in my life that I don't want to see it on TV. Just let me pretend.
I hated all that torture porn stuff. And even like Reservoir Dogs, when the cop's there tied up and he cuts his ear off. I don't want to watch that. It was just
and this outside.
The guy's a genuine psycho, Michael. I think he's a psycho in real life, actually.
Outlander's guy's holding him down, screwing him in the ass. He's screaming, and I just don't think we need that. I think we can leave things to the imagination. Want to go watch porn?
I don't want to imagine it.
You want to go watch
it.
porn? Put porn on. I want to watch entertainment. You can make some moans and groans, and you can get it, but you don't have to show it. That's I really mean that with a lot.
No, I agree with you.
Let's get back to PR.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go. No,
I enjoyed that.
Let's get back to Paul because this is all part of PR. Understanding things and expressing and appealing to the masses. So let's talk about you, Paul. How'd you get into this shit?
I started my first business when I was 17. I've never had a job. I started with a little advert in the local newspaper in York, which is where I'm from, the original York, not this New York business. Name yourself after our town. And
wasn't New York named by the Dutch?
That was New Amsterdam.
Oh, and then they changed it to York.
They gave it to the Duke of York.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, that was right. The British soldier in the Outlander, the British captain, was a freak.
That's why there's Wall Street, isn't there? Because there was a big wall to keep the British out.
Yeah, he was a freak, and he's the one that raped the Scottish guy, and he was a very proper Englishman with his red coat on, and he was a fruitcake from the beginning. All right, let's keep going. Where are we going?
I just need to state, you're awesome. I'm really enjoying this.
Let's stay.
Is he like this all the time? What a legend.
Let's stay focused now. Not on the red coat that hits the guy in the caboodle.
Yeah.
That stuff turned me off.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was so proper, and then all of a sudden he just was sensationalist. What's the word?
Sensationalist.
No, that when you're real horny and shit.
Oh, I don't know.
Come on, I'm a high school.
43. I haven't felt those feelings in years.
Whatever. He was a hornball. Yeah. Okay, so now, Paul, you're 17. You start in York.
Yeah.
And what were you doing in York?
I was raised there. My parents are there, and I put a little advert in the local newspaper that just said, "Has anyone got any computer problems? I'll fix them." And I used to cycle to people's houses with a carrier bag full of antivirus discs. You remember the little floppy discs?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I'd charge people sort of 50 quid.
Quid. You know what a quid is?
A quid is a pound.
Yeah, it is.
Very good,
yeah.
Carlo.
50 quid. Yeah,
I spent time in Hampstead, Bishop's Avenue.
I lived there.
I've stayed there with the princes of Saudi Arabia.
Wow.
And I used to drive a Lagunda through the Churchill crossing at about 80 miles an hour, pissed. You know what pissed means?
Quite drunk, I believe.
Yes, that's
pissed
right.
Here means angry, doesn't it?
No, pissed in England is drunk.
Yeah.
In America, it's angry. You're right.
Yeah.
So
it's like a fag in England means cigarette. So you'd say, there's a fag.
Do you have a fag?
Maybe a pissed fag.
Okay, so
but
now
it doesn't mean that here.
Now you're taking your little floppy disk around. You're doing your thing, guys.
Built that up. Eventually, sort of kept building it up. Got to sort of 20 odd people. Eventually, sold it in my mid-20s, and thought I want to do something else because I never actually chose to. I thought I was suddenly hit upon this. They call it a quarter-life crisis now, where you suddenly think, is this what I want to do? And I'd never set out to build a computer business, but because I'm a hard worker and I'm a hustler, I'd kind of built a reasonably big computer business, and I thought, I don't want to do this. So I sold it and thought, what do I want to do with my life? And I thought, I want to get involved in PR and I want to get involved in politics. And I'll see which career takes off. Because I got into PR because I couldn't afford to advertise my business in the early years. And I used to hustle. I used to do stuff that the local newspaper would want to cover. And I thought, well, why would I pay $200 to advertise in the local newspaper when I can dress as a chicken and stand outside something and get a photographer to take a picture and get a bigger piece for free? So that was how I got into PR. I got into it for results, not for sort of...
So you understood the value of earned media. To borrow an industry term.
Absolutely. So I built the business up. I was in politics for sort of 10, 12 years. This was at the later end of Tony Blair's prime ministership. I stood for Parliament. I dragged my poor wife around loads of constituencies because I was desperate to become a member of Parliament. Wow. And the best thing that ever happened to me is that I didn't get a safe seat because now I'd be stuck there. Basically, Tony left. I didn't like Gordon Brown's lot a lot, and then Ed Miliband came in, and we got, like Bernie Sanders, we got progressively more left-leaning as socialist and communist, and I just thought, I've had enough of this. And then when Jeremy Corbyn got elected as the leader, he is like Bernie Sanders, and I thought, this is not... Yeah, I mean, you compare Tony Blair, a statesman on the global stage, big friend to America, helping you guys out, real friendship, with some left-wing Bernie Sanders type lunatic.
I think he makes Bernie Sanders look like a capitalist.
Jesus,
in some ways.
I know. So and then so basically I thought, well, I've been building my business up anyway, and I want to focus on this exclusively. So I completely changed things because I saw an opportunity to look after just the leader of a business, to be their consigliere. So there's commercially it works because there's hundreds of PR agencies, and there's a race to the bottom in terms of fees. They're all chasing the same business, $2,000 or $3,000 a month here and there. I work for global chief executives running multi-billion-dollar businesses, and I can charge them 10, 15, 20 times that. And also, it's a personal relationship. I really like that. We have 40-odd clients now, and they're all incredibly interesting people in a really interesting situation doing something interesting. And I really like that. It's not something that you can just churn out press releases for, or there's, all of our clients, we have a blank sheet of paper. We're there to say, look, what do you want to do? And then we help them do it. And we do a lot of crisis work as well.
Crisis management.
Yeah. So about a fifth of our work is crisis.
Like we were just talking about, and I go back, I personally knew the former CEO of Boeing, which I did some business. I brought RSA, that's the security
thing.
cyber.
I used to have a little fob where the number that changed for me to log in.
I was a spokesman for 10 years with Art Corvello, who lives up in Vancouver. Art was the chairman that sold it to EMC. Now it's subsequently been bought by Dell.
Wow.
But I was able to bring RSA and some of their security technology into Boeing because of my relationships.
Wow.
It was great security technology, but look at where I'm going to on this, look at what happened with the 737s. Yeah. It kind of destroyed a massive company. Yeah. And the other one, another destruction that I can't believe, well, a few of them, Lehman Brothers, that they didn't want to save, and then General Electric.
I agree.
The company. How did my friend is Jack Welch. I was at his wedding, his third wedding, the last one, and I still can't believe that General Electric, because of not proper PR, I mean, there was no reason in the world that General Electric is now, the stock is about 3 cents or something.
The board don't take reputation seriously enough. I'll give you an example, right? United Airlines, last year, punched some guy in the face, some dentist, and dragged him off the plane, right? Do you remember that?
Yes.
Right. The lawyer will have written the tweet, because about an hour later, United Airlines put a tweet out and said, we regret having to reaccommodate this passenger, right? Now, the lawyer who wrote that, from his point of view, would have thought, well, we can't apologise and admit liability, so we're going to very carefully word a tweet so that doesn't admit, because we might, otherwise, if we get it wrong, we might have to pay him another $10 million in damages, right? That tweet angered people so much that they lost $1 billion off their stock market value the next day, right? Wow. And that's what the board have to do. It's, if you let the lawyer write the apology, you're finished. Because that's what they should have said. The CEO should have come out front and centre and said, I wasn't on that plane, I don't know what happened, but I feel desperately sorry for that poor man, my staff and the fellow passengers. I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and I'm genuinely going to get to the bottom of it, and I'll make sure it damn well never happens again. Now, most people would have thought at that point, fair enough, Yeah. But they didn't. They put out an incredibly technical, legal tweet, which angered people, because you thought, well, you've punched a guy in the face, so you're not going to show any empathy for him. And that, to me, is what boards need to do now, is realise that the power of reputation is more important now than the legal stuff. We get retained by a lot of lawyers who say, yeah, we're going to start a legal action against this big company that we're in dispute with, but we also, parallel to that, want a public relations exercise, because it might be that if we can pressure the board to do the right thing, that's more powerful than actually our lawyers arguing with their lawyers. So we do that a lot. And I say to clients in a crisis, right, that imagine that you run a pizza restaurant and you're the manager, and a table is angry at something and was asked to see it, right? You didn't cook the pizza and you didn't take the order, right? What you want to do is you go and you lead on empathy. So the first thing you say is, I'm dreadfully sorry that this has happened, right? And if you mean it, they'll give you a chance. And then you say, look, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to get to the bottom of it. That's stage 2. If they believe you, then already you're nearly there. And the third one is, and I'm going to make sure it never happens again. And if the people believe you, that you've led on empathy, genuinely taking responsibility, most people will give you the fair crack of the whip and say, well, look, okay, I was annoyed, but I can see you're going to try and put this right. Best of luck to you. When people don't do that, it's so simple. But when people try and overcomplicate it, or when they listen to the lawyers, they fuck the job up completely. Yeah. And that's why United lost $1 billion off their stock market value. Because I was in the airport about to take off when it happened, and I saw there was like TV shows, and CNN had a split screen, and they had the tweet. saying we regret having to reaccommodate this passenger. But on the other half of the screen, there was a bloke with a punched nose and blood. And I thought, they haven't reaccommodated this guy. They've punched him in the face and dragged him off the plane. If they'd just said that, I wouldn't be as annoyed. They made it 50 million times worse. And that's the thing. If people are human beings, if they get something wrong, if the intent is genuine, most people will give you a fair crack of the whip. And that's the bit.
I think it goes right back to what we were talking about, President Trump. You know, with him saying stupid stuff and saying really negative stuff, by him not fixing it, it's still laying in a lot of veterans' minds what he said about McCain. It's still in a lot of Mexican families calling us all drug dealers and criminals. And he hasn't kind of healed it up yet, because he won't listen to a reputation person, because he's so far out there that he's not listening to anybody, because like you just said in the beginning, he's been winning all along, so why would he back off winning?
So
I got this from people very close to him.
You can see it.
You can't talk to him.
Yeah.
It's like no one, like Bo can't say, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Do this, do that. And a lot of people don't know, even for veterans, he now casted a veteran's choice. And it was an idea that I brought to him before he was president about getting a card where veterans could go to any hospital, any psychological PTSD, anything like that, and where they don't have to go to a VA hospital because they're getting treated like shit. Yeah. Go to anywhere, send a bill to the VA. He passed it. People don't even know he did it.
No.
And these are good things that are positive things. If you want to talk about positive things, to me, that was one of the biggest important things to do to help our veterans.
He's done some good things.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that the Democrats can't admit either. You've got to be even-handed in this. He's done some good things. I don't deny it, right? But you make a good point there, that whoever is the media person for Trump can't control him. It's the same with Prince Andrew that we had. That's why his PR advisor resigned 10 days before. He said, I'm going to go on the BBC and I'm going to do this interview. And rightly, his PR advisor said, Your Royal Highness, don't do it, sir, right? And he went, I'm doing it. And he's like, please don't do it. It's going to end badly. And he has to resign.
Well, so you know, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, because my experience are, a while back, Imus in the Morning, one of the big radio, he just died Christmas, and I had done the show for 34 years. Very politically influencing Washington. Every United States senator knew him, wanted to be on his show and all that. And then it was a humorous show. And over the years, we said stuff that today, politically correct, don't work. But this was a humorous show in the morning. He makes a comment about the Rutgers basketball team being nappy head hose, right? Everyone laughs, but then all of a sudden the shit starts hitting the fan. At that point, CBS Radio he was on. CBS Radio had nobody in this. The CEO had just left 2 weeks prior. Now this shit's hitting the fan. All of a sudden the NACP gets involved with it. Now they want him fired. I call up Sumner Redstone, who was a friend of mine, who was the head of all of it. He was the head of CBS. Viacom. And I said, Summer, they're losing control of this thing. I says, Les Moonbeam, I call him Les Moonves, who I knew since 85 too. I said, this is losing control. No one's
he's had some trouble.
Someone's got to step up, let him step up, suspend him for 2 weeks. Boom, you're suspended. And then and then let him come out and do an apology, and it's over with. Instead, I call up Les Moon, some of the Redstone says, you call up Les, you know him. So I call up Les, I said, Les, you got to take charge. Nobody took charge, and it started getting its own life. Next thing is,
the momentum builds up against him.
No one tells Imus. I told Imus, do not go on Al Sharpton's radio show. Do not. He knows better, of course. He goes on there, Al Sharpton sitting there with his daughter sitting on a chair. Why don't you call my daughter a nappy head hoe? I said, oh my God, he's just... nobody's advising. I tried to advise him. I'm his friend. I said, do not go on there. The best thing that could have happened at that point was that the network and the radio station take charge, suspend him immediately. Now they never realize. They fire him. They never realize in his contract it said, and he got $23 million. He's supposed to be irrelevant. What's that word? Irrelevant?
Irrevocable.
Irrevocable?
No, irrelevant. When you say stuff that's bad and shit, irrelevant.
Irrelevant?
Not irrelevant. It's another word when someone's supposed to stay.
Irreverent.
That's the word. Irreverent. In his contract says that is what he is, and he's going to say something. But you cannot fire him if he says something that is
Irreverent.
first time. You have to give him a warning. If he does it again, he could be fired.
And then he got all the money.
He never was warned. No one read the fucking contract. And he got $23 million. Did you ever know that?
I didn't.
$23 million because he was leading. He didn't have my friend here as his PR.
But I mean, this is why I set up the business.
Oh no, CBS and Viacom didn't have Paul to tell them what the hell to do and back off the damn thing, suspended them immediately, and then everybody would be the majority would be placated. They took action, and we're going to investigate it.
A lot of what I do is things like that, where it's the manifestation of a deeper problem. I'm a fixer. I get involved in that, go behind the scenes and work out, look, what is the real problem here? Because, that is the problem. Sometimes, though, you can't, like with Trump or whoever it might be, where you just know they won't listen to you. That's why I set up the business, where I thought, well, I want at least 5 or 6 clients. I mean, we've got nearly 50 clients now. But when I was kind of thinking of the concept of this business, I thought, well, I'll have 5 clients, mainly to spread my risk, because I don't want to seek conflict with anyone. I don't want to fall out with anyone if you're paying me money to represent you. But one of the big things that I was really passionate about is a lot of PR people will just sort of remain silent because they get paid every month, and with every month that goes on, there's
monthly
a return.
retainer, and they
don't make any waves.
And also, they don't speak truth to power, because sometimes with our clients, I don't want to fall out with them, but I think it's ethical to say, no, you're not doing that. And I mean it, right? A lot of people don't do that because they don't want to be fired. I see it in private family offices where there's someone who's a media advisor, and they need to tell their boss, the head of the family, be less of an asshole, but they can't because they've got all of their eggs are in one basket, and their mortgage depends on that guy not firing me. So my original idea was I'll have 5 clients so that I can tell any one of them to fuck off if I need to, and I can still pay my mortgage. Yeah. So I won't deliberately set out to piss them off. But I think it's unethical if you're the problem and yet no one tells you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of rich people have sycophants around them, and no one actually says, Emperor, you're not wearing any clothes, whereas I do. I'm like you. I'm tough like that, right? As I say, my dream was to have 5 clients, and accidentally I've now got 45 clients.
Well, it's not too bad of an accident.
Yeah, it's not bad. Multi-million-dollar, revenue business, and I'm really proud of the team as well. I've got 20-odd people. I've got podcast producers, writers, researchers,
That's a
website designers,
Well, you
social
want to know
media.
something? What you've done today, I have incidents that come. I've been in business 35 years from retiring from the police department. So we have some real clients, and they get into trouble. Yeah. And I tell you right now, as of today, Carlo,
I'm available.
Paul's the man.
All right.
And I mean, when the shit's hitting the fan, I could call CEOs up, and I can say I do have a person that I can trust.
I'm very grateful.
Just talking to you a little bit, but then you're going to face, I'm in business 35 years. Who the fuck are you to tell me what I do wrong?
No, you're entirely right.
How do you deal with a schmuck like that, like me?
Well, first of all, you're not a schmuck, you're awesome. You know that, right? But so 85% of people, you can get into them, you can reason with them, because ultimately you don't want to fuck things up.
Yeah.
And if someone tells you respectfully in the right way and really makes a good case in the way that you want to be heard, you can't do this, Bo, you're going to make things worse. And, it comes from an honest place. You don't want to fuck your business up. There are some people, 10 or 15% of people, like it might be Les, it might be the people advising him, but if ultimately they're not going to listen to you, then you can tell people, look, when you cross the road, look both ways, right? If they don't and they get run over, you've done everything you can. So 85% of people you can get to, but there are 10, 15% of people you can't reason with. I couldn't tell Trump to be less of an asshole, because he would say, me being an asshole has got me to become president of the United States.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are you to tell me?
Yeah.
But you know what? He might have a point. So,
we'll see if he gets reelected. Then we'll have around another podcast, and we'll say the son of a bitch did it again.
Look, do you know what? One of the things that's interesting about the media today is no one has a fucking clue about anything now, right? All the old rules are gone, right? 8 days before the general election, the election here, Grab 'em by the pussy, the Billy Bush tape came out.
He thought it was over.
Well, I laughed. I thought, God, the small chance he had of being president has gone, right? Because no one would vote for this guy after that, right? And I literally, sanctimoniously, sort of sat back like that and thought, job done. You know what I mean? I don't know whether you've seen the news recently, but he was elected president of the United States. So, apparently he's still in office. So, I was wrong. And I tell you another thing about imposter syndrome as well. As I kind of climb the ladder, I'm at quite a high rung of the ladder now in terms of global PR. I always thought there was this mythical high rung of PR, that there's this hive mind of all the top PR people in the world that really knew what they were doing, and they would all think about things in a certain way. They don't have a fucking clue either. No, they disagree with each other.
I know a lot of alleged great PR people,
and I look at them and
they're great. They're great because of the clientele that they have.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't ruffle the fucking feathers.
They don't.
They get their retainer every month, and hey, Carlo, don't say nothing about that. Yeah. You're gonna fucking fuck up our retainers every month. So in reality, they're bullshit.
Yeah.
Whereas you get a guy that's over there like Paul, and Paul goes, Mr. CEO, with all respect, we gotta think about this, because if we don't, this is what's going to be the outcome of that.
We've got a client that's in a big dispute with
Hold on, real fast. I was out last night with Greg Olson, the astronaut, billionaire, a guy who went to space in the Russian Soyuz. Cool guy.
Well, that's nothing. I was in a hotel room on my own eating loads of chips. So which one's best?
We're going over there, and all of a sudden, he's a big Tesla fan.
Yeah, love him. I've got one.
He bought Tesla at like $17. It went up to $28, and he sold all his stock. So Tom, my other friend from Power Survey,
Tom Cantonese.
Tommy's there like this, and we're looking at him, because we know the stock is humming at about $600 and something.
Yeah, I know.
And all of a sudden, you know what the astronaut said, Greg Olson? I got to give him a lot of credit. I was very happy with doubling my money. And we look at him like, but if you left it in, you would have made hundreds of millions of dollars.
You'd have been in the stratosphere.
Yeah, but you want to know something? But when you look at him, he's not a risk taker.
Yeah.
He is a person, and you got to respect it. Me, of all people, he's a billionaire, and I'm looking to make payroll this week. So my point is,
I want global domination. I watch James Bond films, and I see the villain who wants to take over the world, and I think, well, if he's not ambitious enough, that's up to him. Do you know what I mean? The only villain I respected in Bond was Moonraker, because the guy wanted to dominate planet Earth and outer space. That's stage 2 for me, and then there's beyond the solar system.
But I tell you what, to get you into a boardroom and listen to you, I mean, you're quite. You make a lot of sense in a lot of things you're saying, and it's just getting through that door. And a lot of people, even with cybersecurity, you have a CIO who's telling his CEO, "Oh, we're 100% protected," and then all of a sudden they get fucking breached, and then all of a sudden alarm buttons go off. What do we do? All the data breach, and in reality, yourself, knowing security, cybersecurity, you can never be 100%.
No.
All you do is minimize the risk and all that.
But they don't even do that. Boards aren't. They're not security compliant enough, because a lot of these boards are old white guys that don't get tech, and they just as a board they think. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link, right? And if a business is built on data, and the board have a chief information officer who says, "Yep, everything's all right, fellas, don't worry about it," and they go, "Okay," and you think that is the most amazing threat to the business that could ruin us all, and they're taking one guy's word. It's not enough priority. It's not enough emphasis.
Well, Carl will tell you, I own keystroke encryption. Every time you keystroke, we bought the patents, my partner Danny and I, and we look like we're really taking off, like stratosphering it, which I think, you know what, if it happens, it's great. If it don't happen, I'm not committing Harry Carey.
Of course.
But the point is, every time we go into a CIO, they get the cock block. Oh, no, we got everything under control here. Now, there's a reason why the CIO, the CISOs, are reporting now to the board of directors and the CEO, because the devastation of a cyber attack could destroy a whole company.
Absolutely.
And my thing is this: well, look at you got such great security. Let me bring in a couple of our people, and let's see where the holes are.
Yeah.
If you're so secure, then we'll come back with a report saying you're secure.
Yeah.
What is the price of checking?
I agree.
And these cock-blocking CIOs and CISOs are the problems in these corporations.
I'd kill them all.
They are afraid to their little kingdom. They're afraid for you to test the doors to see if the door is open.
I'd kill them all.
And that's bullshit. And any CEO that doesn't let an independent transparency, and we're involved with something with transparency, Me Too movement, right? We hired the head of the EEOC. We put together a platform, because what we've learned that a lot of people who are victims of sexual abuse and sexual harassment and discrimination don't want to report it to HR because they're afraid they're up for a job level of promotion. And on top of it, the person that they're complaining about is one of their bosses that could take them out. So we came up with an independent platform that we have in effect now where we let employees know that there's a way of reporting it anonymously or your name, and we'll go coming there, transparency, full transparency. We'll investigate it, and we'll report it not just to HR, to the general counsel, right up to the CEO. Because if you could diffuse something going on in a company, God knows what happened at Fox.
But it's in the best interest of the company to do that. Because what you don't want is that problem to go unchecked and get worse and worse.
It's like that shit that's going on in China. If we don't quarantine them, everybody's going to have that flu. What's it called?
The coronavirus.
Corona beer.
Corona beer. There's Modelo virus. There's Presidente virus.
Yeah, that's scary. That's fucking scary. I will not go to China. If you want to go, Paul, I'm sorry.
I go all the time.
No, don't go there anymore. Please, Paul, I need you around, all right, please?
Paul, one thing you briefly alluded to was the way the media landscape is today. From when you started your PR consultancy till now, with the rise of Twitter, social media, where one tweet can kind of sink a company or a CEO and it could explode. How do you kind of manage that in terms of crisis communications, where one offhand comment could really sink a company or cause it to lose billions of dollars of value?
Well, I mean, Winston Churchill said sort of decades ago, 50, 60 years ago, that the problem with the world is a lie can get halfway around the world before the truth has even got its boots on. I mean, and that wasn't even when there was Twitter and social media.
Say that one again. I like that.
A lie can get halfway around the world before the truth has even got its boots on.
Remember that, Carl, so I can steal it, please, from Winston Churchill. Good.
But now, in the age of Twitter and social media, these things can be instant. If you don't have a reaction of some sort within 20 minutes, then there's a problem, because even worse, there's then a vacuum where people start to speculate. Like a lot of our clients will say, "Oh, a journalist has contacted us about this big problem," and already they want to stick their head in the sand and make the problem go away because it's human nature. And they say, "Well, if we won't comment, they'll just say we decline to comment." And I say, "Look, the reality is this: that reporter is going to write a whole page on this tomorrow. So do you want to not comment and have all of the page
without a
dedicated to exploring all of your options
without making a comment?
So all 7 horrendous things, you want them to go into detail of all 7, or do you want to tell them the one that you're going to do so that they can discuss the pros and cons of that and not even mention the other 6 horrendous things? You either deal with this head on or you don't at all, and it's all about whether you embrace it or not. Because if a journalist is going to report you, right, you can either have them killed, Godfather style, right, but even then, you better do it in the next 90 minutes, otherwise there's going to be trouble, right? Or you have to accept the reality that they're going to cover something. And also, most journalists want a story, the conflict, the fact that you're not doing so well. If you win $1 million on the lottery or you kill someone, both the stories, they're not against you. So you have to accept the reality that a story is a story, even if it's against you. So you embrace it because you can mitigate the damage. Also, there might be 4 facts on that and they might have got 1 wrong. Rather than saying, "Oh, fuck off," and not cooperating, you could say, "Look, I'm going to cooperate with you, but on that you have actually got the facts wrong." And if they're a decent journalist, they will check that and correct it. And I'd rather have that. So often I say to clients, look, whether the journalist is a kind of hot inquiry, like they're against you, or they're for you, it's an opportunity for you to shape the narrative. And again, it's about, if you be seen to take it seriously and have a mea culpa, and people can see that you're penitent and you're trying to put it right, then usually you can turn it around. It's all about, you're the manager of a pizza restaurant. I always say to all of our clients, I have clients that run $8-9 billion businesses, and I always go back to this and say, you're a manager of a pizza restaurant and there's a couple at a table that have got a problem and they're mad. That's all you know. You just go in there with an honest belief, desire to sort it, lead on empathy. People believe that, and the best way for them to believe that is for it to be true. One of the best bits of PR that I've seen recently is we have an adventure park in England called Alton Towers. It's a bit like Six Flags. There's lots of roller coasters and so on. And there was an accident on one of their roller coasters, and a young lady lost her legs. She was in horrendous. I mean, she's had to have her legs amputated. It was horrendous. I wasn't involved in this, but the chief executive of that park went on all of the national TV news shows that night, and he got 7 bells of shit knocked out of him. The anchors were like, "How can you sleep at night? What have you done? What have you not done?" And in fairness, he said, "This is horrendous." He said, I've got no defence. He said, "But I'm going to have to get to the bottom of this because it's never going to happen again." And you could see he meant it. You could see he was upset. It wasn't fake. And most people thought, well, okay, he's clearly going to put that right. Next. Do you know what I mean? If he
didn't go on
if
there,
he'd have put out a 4-line statement by a lawyer saying Alton Towers regrets,
and if he didn't go personally, it would take all the thunder away.
Because also people thought, well, he's not taking it seriously enough if it's a 4-line statement through a lawyer, and therefore I am not going to go to Alton Towers next year because he might not have fixed that roller coaster. Whereas now I looked at him, even as a customer, I thought, yeah, he's going to put that right. He's not going to go in the new studio again in a few months and have someone else do this.
And that leads me to this: the biggest problem I believe that you have and everyone has now is the advent of the social media. I mean, something gets its own life in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
When Imus said Nappy at Ho, one of the board of directors for CBS started blasting all over the internet, all over to the employees that he's a racist and why is he working for CBS? And it went in like in a second, it was all over the place. That is something. How do you control the overwhelming social media when it gets its own life, and now it's out with millions of people? How do you pull that or neutralize that? That's a very important question, Paul.
So there's no fool like an old fool. I mean, we have a newscaster in England called Alistair Stewart. He's a bit like Dan Rather. He's been on the TV for 30 years, incredibly well respected. You know, everyone trusts him. And
we used to trust Dan Rather. He lied.
Alistair got into a Twitter spat with some guy who was criticising him, and he quoted, this guy was mixed race, and he quoted a piece of a quote from Measure for Measure from Shakespeare, and it mentioned about listening to an ape. Now, I don't know whether he did that deliberately or not. I'm not defending his comments, but obviously this man took that to be a racist insult.
The way I would take
he resigned just like that. Within 60 minutes of one tweet, his 35-year career, gone.
But
right?
You know what? I would look at it.
He should have been more careful.
I'm a little older, and I would look at it. I don't want to listen to an ape, meaning the intelligence of an ape. And not, look, if he says something stupid, I could call him an ape.
Yeah.
And the mind that's saying that, I don't believe your mind is...
I don't think anyone thinks he's racist.
Right. But by saying that, in today's environment, it's off the edge.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, we had another...
and how'd you deal with that?
So Danny Baker was a prominent broadcaster on the BBC, and when Meghan Markle gave birth to her kid, he had basically a couple bring out a little chimpanzee picture from like 100 years ago. I don't think he meant it racistly in a racist way.
How else would he mean that?
Well,
obviously he's your client.
He's not at all. Well, he resigned within 10 minutes.
Paul, I would look at it as a racist thing to show a monkey the baby's picture.
But that's my point. He should have realised that people would think it's racist, even if he didn't mean it. Well, that's the problem with social media.
Be careful before you do anything.
Because you and I are, we're talking. If the cameras weren't here, there's three of us. But the minute there's a camera or you're on Twitter, millions of people are going to see it.
Well, like you said, one said about he has the intelligence of an ape. Not because he's black, because he's so fucking dumb.
Yeah.
But then when you show a picture of a chimpanzee about this woman giving birth, to me, there's no explanation other than negative.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, that's why he was so foolish. Because I don't. Even if he was racist, he wouldn't. Why would he be stupid enough to tweet something so obviously interpreted as racist?
Yeah.
What it is, and this is a big problem on social media, is I think he didn't give that any thought. I think he just stuck that out with about 3 seconds. Well, that's why I stopped.
I don't. I'll tell you right now.
You're sensible.
I used to go after people when Twitter first came out. I was doing it.
Yeah.
I was threatened. And then one guy, I'm getting into it, and I said, I'll tell you what, I'll meet you and I'll punch you in the face. he was going. Now who handles my social media is Carlo.
And does he make the arrangements for you to punch them in the face like by appointment?
No, he doesn't. You see, he's a thinking, calm person. I react sometimes, like I react to the governor, and I say right to him on my podcast and on my radio shows that you're going to have blood of people on your hands when these criminals who are getting out of jail, who have 10 prior robberies, when they rob someone and physically assault, and there's no bail, who do you think that's going to have the blood on your hand? You signed the bill, and that's why you have to evaluate what we're doing here in New York State, because we're letting violent criminals out with no bail. And I say it right out. And I was waiting to see him on Christmas party, at my friend's Christmas party. He didn't show up because I know his dad. I know the governor. I know Chris Cuomo. And I'm going to say the next time I see the governor, I'll say it right to his face. I'll say, Mr. Governor, they call Chris Cuomo Fredo. I changed that. You're fucking Fredo. And I would say it right to his face. I don't care if he gets offended. What's he going to do? Well, he wants to fight me? Let's fight.
Well, that's
Take
the
your
great
first
thing about
punch,
you.
Mr. Governor.
But
I'm a 69-year-old man. Take your first fucking punch.
You look good for 69.
I still do 80 push-ups.
Yeah.
You take your first punch, because once you swing, I'll knock you out, Mr. Governor. And under your law, I won't even get bail.
Exactly.
Right?
But that's the best thing about you. You're you. You know, you don't pretend to be someone you're not. That authenticity is, you could call it. You should never change. Don't ever change.
You know what these eyes have seen?
What?
These eyes, the last case I did in New York City Police Department, 10 dead. Palm Sunday Massacre, 8 children shot and 2 adults. Jesus. So I look upon that. When I talk from experience. And I said on my radio show, Mr. Governor, I'll show you pictures of 10 dead people. My last case, when you let violence and you let things go so far. And this guy had been arrested for another murder, but he was released. What are we going to do next, Mr. Governor? I mean, we have to balance things out. People's rights that are not violent. People that want to go to work every day, travel on the subway. Why should they be the victims for violence?
I agree with you. I mean, here's the thing, right? I remember this very clearly. One of the biggest political memories I ever had. I was elected on the local assembly in York, where I'm from. I was served for about 6 or 7 years.
You were an assemblyman
in York, yeah, in the north of England. I was elected, okay. And one of the things that we were responsible for was like crime and policing and all of this kind of stuff. And I think that the Home Secretary was being shown round the local police station. So that's our kind of, you know, the cabinet member that's nationally that's responsible for sort of policing and everything. And he was being shown round York Police Station, and there was all the cells and everything else, and there was the CID, which is our kind of detectives bit, and the room is physically arranged according to different types of crime. So there's acquisitive crime, and within that there's car crime and burglary and so on and so forth. So the guy's been taken round, and he gets to the acquisitive crime section. True story, this. And he gets to the car crime thing, and on the wall of the car crime branch of York Police, there's 4 detectives that are determined to sort of investigate it. And there's a graph on the wall, and it had the weekly crime stats for York, week by week. So it was blah, blah, blah. And there was all of this going up and down. And then there was 1 week, no crime whatsoever. And then suddenly it went back up. And, of course, everyone was like, hello, that week, no car crime at all. 0 car crime, right? And the lead detective said, and I'll always remember this, he said, we have 4 prolific car crime offenders that are all drug addicts in York that are responsible for most of the car crime in York. 4 people. He said, and by pure coincidence that week, all of them were in prison.
That doesn't take a great detective.
I was just like...
But, Paul, let's talk a little bit about your podcast. Oh, first, are there any of your clients that you can mention with them giving you permission as far as some of your clients, corporate clients?
I mean, I can mention a lot of our clients don't mind me mentioning them in private, and there's some of our clients on the website.
I respect them because I'm asked that all the time.
So half of our clients are running sort of serious businesses. They're chief executives running global businesses. Sony Music is one of our clients, for example.
Who's that?
Sony Music. We work with them for many years.
My old friend Tommy Mottola used to run that.
That's right. And so, you know, we have a lot of clients that where they realise that the organisation and the company benefits from having a more visible chief executive. Both if something goes wrong and in good times, that what we do builds on and runs alongside their normal PR, right? So that's good. The other type of clients that we have are what we would call legacy-oriented clients, where they've made lots of money. We have a lot of clients billionaires in San Francisco, for example. They've made hundreds of millions. They're not interested in making more money anymore, but they're interested in giving it away. They're interested in legacy, in philanthropy, in making a difference. They might want to, you know, win an award for a Lifetime Achievement Award from their industry, but what gets them out of bed isn't making money anymore, it's doing good. And some of them want to get involved in politics and all that kind of thing. So we come along and we help them do that. You know, we launch podcasts, write blogs, get them on the TV and radio, etc. But it's all oriented around the person. In the same way that the federal government has a leader, which is the president. And, you know, you can't... in the Venn diagram, there's the federal government, but there's the president. And, of course, there's a massive overlap because when you think of the government, you think of the person who's leading it. And most people can't differentiate between the two. It's the same with a lot of big companies.
You know who needs your help?
No.
Bezos.
Yes, he does.
He could use your help. He certainly could use your help. And, I mean, he's a person that, whether he likes it or not, it has to be positiveness coming out of him. Yeah. And if he does things, it should be out there that he's doing good stuff with all those hundreds of billions of dollars, whatever his value. That's a person that could use a real effective PR, not a Me Too jerk off. Oh, you look great, Mr. Bezos. No. You got to be able to take someone and say, look, you hired me to help you. I'm doing this fully transparent with you. I don't have no agenda. You're going to pay me anyway, but I want success for you.
But that, because I've written a book, but my next book is going to be about...
What's the book you read?
I wrote a book called Fast PR, which is sort of a...
Fast PR, and who publishes it?
Who publishes it? Lidl Publishing, I think they're called.
And where can we get that?
You can get it on Amazon. You can go on my website, fastpr.online.
Check it out.
But my next book, actually, because I've read loads of books on leadership, and what's fascinating is they all say, be transparent, do this, communication, integrity. It's all generic stuff, right? I work with 45 global leaders, and I've seen real leadership, the good and the bad, and I'm trying to distill it into 5 lessons that I've learned, where I've actually seen it with my eyes, my real eyes.
We've had...
I've got two of them worked out.
We had a Navy SEAL on here, Jocko
Willing.
He wrote a very famous Navy SEAL guy, and he wrote the leadership levels and all that, where he relates it all to the military side as far as
But
leadership.
even so, communication was very high on his list.
It is. But I think that, to me, that's almost obvious in a sense, because it's important that you get that right. I'm trying to write a kind of the next level stuff, the things that people are still getting wrong on a quite a fundamental level. I'm trying to distill it into 5 lessons. I've got 2 already. The first one is temperament. Honestly, everyone knows when they've got a boss how that he or she's going to react if something goes badly.
Yeah,
and that can actually demotivate people.
I yell all the time, but when I yell, I'm fast to apologize too.
But also...
because that's my personality, and sometimes I just react, and I say to myself, well, that's not nice.
But actually, that's good, because I know where I am with you as a boss.
Yeah.
You'll blow your top.
But if you really know me, I balk.
Yeah.
And then I'm the first one to apologize.
So what you don't want is your staff to withhold things from you because they're frightened. Whereas in fact they're not.
Well, that's what happened to me and my company over the year when the finances weren't the way they were supposed to. They were afraid to tell me. And I can't deal with something if I don't know it.
Which is the second lesson that I've learned, which is blind spots, is that, everyone has blind spots. And how do you surround yourself with people who challenge you, like I do with my clients?
Don't tell Bo. That's the motto. But don't let Bo know. But Bo's going to find out eventually.
And also, you've lost that lead time, because if Bo had been told 4 weeks earlier... Yeah, you could have solved it. I always say to clients, you're in a canoe and you're heading towards Niagara Falls. When's the best time to sort it? When's the best time to sort it? Is it right near the edge when the rapids are there and you've got to have all that energy? Or is it 3 miles further upstream where the waters are calm and you can sort of very gently go to the side of the fucking river? You're still in the same situation, but the latency.
So we learned
is the
that,
issue.
Carlo. Tell the big mouth boss right away when you find out the problem, rather than festering and become worse, because eventually he's going to come out, and what am I going to say? Why didn't you tell me? Okay, so your podcast, what do you talk about on your podcast?
So I have 2. I have one called Media Masters, where I get editors and all of the kind of big media names on there, and I've done that for sort of 4 years. It's got really good listener base, and I learn a lot. I mean, honestly, I've never had a situation where, all the very biggest media names in the world come on my podcast and I can ask them anything for an hour and learn from them. I mean, what a great sort of MBA of PR.
So that's focus on the media.
Yeah, and then I have my Business Leaders podcast, which I hope you're going to come on at some point.
I don't know if I'm a business leader.
I'm
probably the only ex-detective in New York that made $100 million and pissed it away.
How did you piss it away?
We had little things called gambling. I'm not proud of it, but I'm real about it. Yeah. It happened. And you know what? Maybe people can learn from my mistakes.
But most people are human, right? I see you. You're not perfect. You're a nice guy. You're passionate, right? I don't think, oh, look at him, failed. I think, wow, he's made some mistakes. He's learned. And what can I learn from that?
Well, Carlo can tell you, he's my chief of staff. He's my guy, and he learns from me, because when things get really bad, everyone's looking up at me. What is Bo going to do? I mean, I could just go to the Super Bowl and go, I've been invited by 5 different people, private jets, to the Bahamas. I'm not going there, because I cannot go there not knowing that I have some little problems going on in the company that I have to fix.
Of course.
And we're going to fix it. Carl has been helping me, and it's all about getting out there. My phone used to ring automatically. 35 years in business. It stopped. It stopped from the way it was. Now I got to just knock on the door. Bo's here, 35 years, and we're starting to get now our action and our traction. So it's important that when you're in business, you have to be able to get that business and continue. Think about tomorrow. Don't lie on your hunkies about what business you have coming in. If you're doing great now, you start planning, start bringing more. You got to keep planning for tomorrow. And I think that's a lot of failure business. People don't plan for tomorrow.
No,
they
don't.
just sit on their hunkies and just say, oh, we're doing great.
Yeah.
And that's,
I mistakenly thought as I was climbing the ladder that it would somehow get easier when you get to the top. So, like, the stress becomes worse but different. So like now my worries are sort of more existential. I remember sort of 15 years ago I had a first client and I advised him to write a book and sort of take 1 day a week off his business and hire someone to do the operations and do this book and various other things. And I presented to his board and I convinced them to do it. And it was genuinely the right advice, right? And I mean, now the book's an incredible success. It's been translated into about 10 languages and it's in its 8th edition, right? But I didn't know that at the time. So I give him what I consider to be my best advice with real risk, right? Because if it backfires, he'd probably lose his job. His company would say, we've put all this money in, we've hired someone else, you've taken all this responsibility away to write this book and it's fucking failed, you're fired, right? So, but I thought, first of all, the kind of person I want to be is the person that if I genuinely believe it to be the right advice, why would I not do that through fear? So I'm going to advise him to do this because I truly believe it's right, right? The board sign it off, brilliant, right? I'm then driving home after the meeting and then I think, oh, fuck me. This is serious, right? So, I've made my payroll. All the old worries that I have gone. But I'm thinking, this is a man who's going to sacrifice his career on my advice. Have I made the right decision here? Could it go wrong? And even it wasn't even about if it went wrong and he sued me, I've got insurance. I don't want it to go wrong. I actually don't want it to be the bad advice. And no advice that's real is perfect. You can't read a textbook and think, well, the man in that situation should do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And that's the bit where you've got to stand by it. I've got to believe in it.
There's no science to it.
No, but that's the bit. Just because I believe in it isn't enough. I've got to make sure it damn well is the right advice. Like, you don't want your doctor to believe his advice is right. You want to look it up in a book and think, those 3 symptoms mean he's definitely got that, and give you the right drugs, right? So anyway, that's the bit where you'll have this, where it weighs heavily on you, doesn't it? Because if you're in a leadership position, you've got to take the right decision, because if you don't, you're fired and everything, or you go out of business, and you have to deal with the consequences of that. It's not easy.
And I do not accept that, because I know in all my life I've always pulled things together. I've always succeeded, which I'm going, and I am succeeding again and again. But my whole point is that what I did learn was not planning, and not also your sub-level leaders. That's so important that I learned I didn't have the right people in my secondary group.
Yeah,
I'm the CEO, I'm the chairman of the board. My other levels were all shit, and I'll say it right out. They were shit. They didn't have foresight. Everyone stood by and waited for Bo to react, and if Bo doesn't react, the company would have been gone a long time ago. There's a real strength for having a company in business for 35 years, and I think that's something that's very palatable for a buying motive for people to hire us. Hey, look, we're around 35 years, and that's it. We're going to wrap up because we're going to have to go do your thing. But when people want to get to you, how do they get to you through the social media and all that?
So you can follow me on Twitter at Paul W.R. Blanchard, or you can go to right-angles.global.
So if someone wants to hire your company, what do they do?
They drop me an email or ring me, and they write me a check, and then I help them.
Yeah. Well, all I could say is
if they write the check payable to cash, I'll give them a discount.
Well, I think it's very important that now you have a backup unit.
Yeah,
me,
of course.
My company will back you in any of your crisis management, because a lot of times, effectively, you need what I have.
This could flow both ways. I need you, and you need me.
Well, I just told you. I just told in front of Carlo, because I tell Carlo, when the phone rings, someone needs a PR, right now, there's Paul. And everyone else is off the books. And it goes both ways. Me help you, you help me.
Delighted to do
and what's wrong, and a lot of times when they're having a crisis, Bo Dietl, because they know one thing. When I handled the crisis for the Big Pharma, Big Pharma was in Washington in 2003 when they were trying to get the drug bill passed. They had hired another company. No one knew about it. Hired me with Tom Brokaw. I got a nightly news. We were buying drugs online. Then we were tracing back to Kashmir, Pakistan. And then I lobbied 40 United States senators. Every one of them I knocked on the door. Bo Dietl's here. Every one of them took me in and knew who I was through IMUS in the morning. It was very big in Washington. My whole point is you've got to have someone that's going to get it done, not someone that's going to sit in the foxhole and say, they're all out there, they're coming. Well, let's plan how we take them out.
I'll give you one final thought, right? I say to clients, fire me anytime if you don't like me. Don't commit to a big contract on notice period. You know, the minute you don't want to work with me anymore, just fire me immediately, right? I don't want a situation whereby, you know, you feel you have to carry on working with me because of some contract, right? And also, because our clients are high net worth individuals, they could out-lawyer us in seconds. So bye, you know, don't worry about it. So making us very easy to fire makes us very easy to hire, because it means I say, look, if you're not happy, don't pay our bill. But I'll tell you something else, right? One of our clients is in a huge dispute with a global brand. And I said to them, right, 50 grand and I'll just do the whole thing. And I'll fix it for you. And the boss said, well, what happens if we make one phone call and it's fixed? I said, well,
that's what you pay me for.
Exactly. I said, but this is the thing. I said, do you want a normal PR agency that'll charge you $5,000 a month and deliberately extend and delay it for 10 months so they get the same money when I could have fixed it in week one?
Right.
And he said, well, am I buying your time? I said, you're not buying my time. You're buying my expertise. You're buying who
contacts.
I am. So you're not. If I can solve this in 10 minutes, you're not buying 10 minutes of my time. You're buying 20 years experience and all my connections. And 10 minutes.
Well, I think that's how we get hired.
It's a great value proposition.
Yeah, when they call us, and Carlo deals with it directly all the time, they're calling Bo Dietl because of Bo Dietl's brand, reputation, and getting things done. Again, I keep going back, and I tell people that work for me, that is a very important thing to advertise 35 years in this type of business. Because in this type of business, with all the innuendo about criminal activity and all that bullshit, there's a reason why we're around 35 years. I will not let my client, or I will not get involved in anything that can hurt them or hurt me. And that's why we're around. And that's how you sell. Now, if you're my PR, how would you sell Bo Dietl? He's been around 35 years. He's handled some of the biggest cases in the United States, and he gets results, and he's around 35 years, and he hasn't gotten handcuffed yet. So,
you should have your own Netflix show. You should be. You know, I know you're in so many sort of films and everything yourself.
Martin Scorsese and Rick Young, where they were talking about that. But the point is that
you should be a global megastar, really.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just funny. I wrote. When you talk about business books, I wrote a business lunchitations, where I wrote a book in 2005, became number 5 on the New York Times bestseller. I knocked Jack Welch's book out. I called him up. I said, I knocked you out. In there, I talk about all the tips about you dress for success. You look like a schlep. No, it's okay. Yeah, you're a little...
I didn't know there'd be cameras in fairness. I should have checked.
But the point is a lot of different things that I put all my thoughts in that. And the book hit number 5 on the bestsellers.
Congrats.
I do, because of what I just mentioned to you about slowing down with business, it's all about coming back and coming back. And then when I have a cybersecurity company on the verge of becoming something worth hundreds of millions of dollars, I come back. But my heart and soul, I told Carlo, we're not shutting that place down ever. If I made $500 million tomorrow on my cybersecurity company, Bo Dietl Associates will continue.
But that's
this is my legacy.
Of course it is.
And I say, anybody stays on board with me, this is the legacy of, we have a reputation. And I think us being joined at the hips, we could do some really great things together.
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
And Carlo, take it away.
All right, so Paul, we do one segment every week.
Oh, Jesus.
It's called Punk of the Week. And
something that's bothering you
this week. Could be anything.
Thing. What's bothering you this week?
What's bothering me this week? Oh, God, that's absolutely fascinating. What's bothering me is... Do you know, I don't know. What kind of thing do you want? Is it just
Could be anything. You've been all around. You've been in Davos. You've been in L.A. You're back in New York. You didn't have anything that bothered you a little bit?
Do I have to? Can I just name? Do I have to name the person?
No, it doesn't have to
be a person. It could be a thing.
I've got a friend that needs to hear some advice that he doesn't want to hear. And my challenge is, how do I get that through to him, just as a friend? Because I'm worried that he's going to make a decision that he'll regret. A lot of people have what I would call golden handcuffs, right? Where this friend of mine is, married, he's got kids, he's not in a job that he's happy with, and he wants to start a new business, but he's got a lifestyle that has a certain amount of money, that in a dollar value, that he's earning, but he's desperately unhappy in his job. And I'm saying, leave and start a business. Now, his argument back to me is, Paul, when you moved to London 15 years ago, you had nothing, which meant you had nothing to lose. He said, I've got something that I have to lose, and he has a bit of a cash flow problem, so he hasn't got any money. And I'm like, well, go and find someone to lend you it. And I don't know, is that people where you just want to shake them and say, sort your life out. Life's too short. You could be dead in 30 years, and as you lay there dying 30 years from now, you'll regret not having done it.
Well, I think you should be very direct with him and call him and meet him. Don't do it over the phone. And meet him and say, I don't want you to take this any way except what I'm trying to tell you, because I love you. And do it that way. I think it's good. What's your punk of the week?
My punk of the week is Jim Dolan, owner of the New York Knicks.
He's right in this building.
Right in this building.
He's downstairs.
He made a big blunder yesterday. He could have used Paul on this. The fans are very upset with the way he's been running the team. And
he gets personal with it, too.
Some fans were chanting "sell the team," and he had them thrown out. So it's not a way to treat.
He threw out the fans.
Yeah. He threw out the fans.
Yeah. Can I change my submission to him as well? Yeah. You don't throw out the fans. Your whole business is built on those guys.
He was not. See, he's another one you can't talk to. He's like Trump. You can't talk to him. My punk of the week is Don Lemon. Lemon, whatever you want to call him. He did something this week was disgusting. He brought on these Southerners and he made fun of people from the South, and he was so hysterical laughing. And I mean, when you're in the news media, and Jeffrey, what's his name? My friend that's running CNN, Jeff Zucker. I know you listen to our podcast. You should call him the task for it. He's a disgrace. I don't care if he's an African American. He's a person that's a disgrace, and you should never belittle people, whether you're from the South with a draw. And you, Don Lemon, you've been very lucky. You should thank God. And Jeff Zucker, you should take him to task for it. He's my punk of the week, and I know him very well, and I'll tell him to his face.
There you have it. Thanks very much for Paul Blanchard for being here. Really enlightening stuff. Great conversation. You could find us. We're on social media. We're at One Tough Podcast on Twitter. Bo is Bo Deedle on Twitter. And you can email any questions or guest suggestions. We got some great stuff lined up. Our email address is onetoughpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll see you next week.
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.